Hello, everyone. Doing the long essay question lesson remotely. Man, 2020, the gift that keeps on giving. Some of you are here because your class was on a holiday. Some of you are here because you did not have power or internet on the day that we did this as a live lesson. As is always the case with these, especially with a writing lesson like this one, I'm going to be specific in the areas I think I need to be, but y'all, please feel free to ask me a question if you have need of it. Send something on Remind, send something on email or Canvas Messenger. And the reason I bring that up is because this stuff is really important, especially to those of you who haven't taken an AP course before. Learning how to do these essays is a critical piece of learning how to actually do the entire thing. There's some other videos you can find out there. I know I've recommended Steve Heimler's channel to you. I've also recommended a gentleman named Tom Ritchie. Both of them have some slightly different methods for how they choose to do the LEQs, and I'm trying to do it all in a single video as opposed to breaking it down point by point. So you might have to invest more time with them, but if you like the way they do things better than the way I do, cool, because look, we're all here for you. Passing the exam, for those of you who don't plan on majoring in history, or for those of you who do and just want to skip some of the more boring, open-ended early history courses and get straight to the meat of some specifics, that's what you're going to want. So, without further ado, we're going to go over the LEQ. All right, your reminder of the format of the exam. The LEQ is a part of section 2. It is a part of the second bit of your class. You're actually going to have spent a little bit more than an hour and a half on section 1, and then you're going to have a break, and then in most cases, you're going to write the DBQ and then the LEQ. Now, you don't have to do that. Technically, you can write your LEQ first and then do your DBQ, mostly due to the weights and to the time management and the audio cues that you'll be given. I'll talk more about those later. College Board and I recommend that you do your DBQ first, but you don't have to. Technically, you can jump straight to the LEQ and no one can stop you. If you read the DBQ and go, I have no idea what any of this is about, okay, then I would say go straight to the LEQ, write it, and then see what you can do with the DBQ with whatever time you have left. All right, the LEQ itself, I don't generally play favorites with parts of an exam, but I will say the LEQ is probably my favorite part of the exam. It was definitely my favorite part to take because you get a choice of prompts. Each question is going to come from a different time period. You can see them listed there, and they all overlap a lot of units. So fairly obviously 1200 to 1750, that's everything from Unit 1 to the end of Unit 4. 1400 to 1900 is more or less units 3 and 4 all the way to unit 6, and then 1750 to 2001 is units 5 through 9. The questions will not overlap time periods. So if one question is about revolutions in the 1700s, then your question from the 1750 to 2001 time period will come later than that. All of the questions will use the same historical reasoning skill, either comparison, causation, or continuity and change over time. With that, like I just told you, the writing section will give you a total of an hour and 40 minutes to write the 2 essays. They recommend the DBQ first, but you don't have to do it that way. All right. LEQs are worth a maximum of 6 points. Here they are. You have the context point, which you either get or you don't. The thesis point, which you either get or you don't. You can get 0, 1, or 2 evidence points, and you can get 0, 1, or 2 analysis and reasoning points. Obviously, shoot for 6. But if you wind up, and I'm going to circle back to this point. If you wind up with a 5 out of 6 on your LEQ and a 6 out of 7 on your DBQ, congratulations on your 5 on the exam. All right, don't, for reasons that will become very apparent, I don't want you stressing about one of these points in particular. So now we're going to look at each of the individual points. Actually, hold on here, I'll transition. Now I'm going to look at each of the individual points in the order that you're going to learn them. This is going to be, for those of you who took a push or those of you who have some concept of what I'm talking about, this is going to be a little bit like Tom Ritchie's one rubric to rule them all that he refers to for his A Push, AP Euro, and AP World rubric. It's really good. You should look it up. And basically, he and I have very similar views on how you get your points, the orders in which you should get them. You're going to see me go through them in the order that I just said with a slight modification, because you're going to earn evidence 1 and analysis 1 before you earn evidence 2 and analysis 2. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so context. Contextualization is 3 to 4 sentences in the introductory paragraph of your essay. Contextualization should be the first 3 to 4 sentences that you write. If you want to know exactly what College Board says, please feel free to pause this video and read what is on the right there. There's no image for this. Contextualization, in essence, is setting the scene. I am about to tell you something extremely dorky, but extremely useful. If you want to know what contextualization looks like, one of the best examples of contextualization that there is, watch any of the Star Wars films, except for, I think, Rogue One and Solo. They don't have the yellow text. Watch any of the main Star Wars films and look at the yellow text. The yellow text that scrolls past and tells you what's going on, that is contextualization. It gives you the background for what's going on. It is either telling readers how humanity got to the start point of the essay or what was going on in the world at the same time. You're going to see 2 examples of that I wrote that I think are pretty good, but admittedly I wrote them. Contextualization is laying the groundwork. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, context is 3 to 4 sentences. My thesis might be 2 sentences long. Are you telling me I can have a 6-sentence long introductory paragraph? Yes, that is what I am telling you. Remember, we're not English. English has a lot of differences with the way they do their writing. A huge piece of those differences, a huge difference for those essays, is your intro paragraph for your English essays is probably going to be fairly short, especially compared to the body paragraphs. Not the case here. Your intro graph might be as long as the body paragraphs. I've seen some essays where the introductory paragraph is the longest paragraph. That's not ideal, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Contextualization, like I said, you're setting the scene. If you don't know what I'm talking about, honestly, just look up Star Wars opening crawl, hit enter, and watch that scroll past. That will give you an idea of what contextualization should look like. Give me the background without telling me the actual story. You'll see what that looks like here in a second as well. Please feel free to pause on these. The prompt, the sample prompt that we'll be using here is also a sample prompt that you will be using in the actual essay, your first LEQ that you're going to write in your Unit 4. When we do our first practice LEQ, this is the very prompt that you will be using. I'm giving it to you in advance. It's a genuine College Board prompt. It is freely available online because it was done in the 2017 iteration, or excuse me, 2018 iteration of the exam. This was the second LEQ prompt that people were given. I've modified it very slightly to match up with the new standards. So here it is. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because you can read, and also I don't want my head blocking the way. So you can see that, and you can also see what it says in the period, gives you the time range, tells you what your essay is going to be about. The actual prompt is down at the bottom, and this is critical. I have seen students, and this is going to sound funny, and it is funny till you're the one who does it. I have seen students write an essay in response to the top bit. That's not how that works. That's not a prompt. That's just a statement of fact. That is true. The oceanic voyages of the Columbian Exchange did transform the eastern and western hemispheres. You are responding to this right here. You are developing an argument which blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to bore you with the details. I will note that the underlined bit, the in the Americas bit, that is in College Board's version of the prompt. I didn't add that. That is in College Board's prompt. We'll actually circle back to that shortly. So what does context look like for these questions such as these? Well, here we go. All right, your eyes do not deceive you. I turned my image off so you could see the whole of the two contextualization examples. Don't worry, I'm still making elaborate hand gestures even though you can't see them. If you look at these two examples, these are two examples that I wrote for contextualization. We're going to look at example one real quick. Again, if you want to read the whole thing, and you should, pause it and read it. But example number one is one way you can go about doing this. The 1500s changed throughout the world, and then it tells you other stuff that was going on in the 1500s. Pivots to the largest change came in the Americas as Europeans and enslaved Africans arrived in the New World, altering the way of life of Native Americans. Your next sentence after that is your thesis. Please note, both of these are just contextualization. Both of these are just for context. Neither one of these would earn the thesis point because they don't elaborate the prompt. They don't tell me anything. Go back to your notes on the thesis if you need them. Please note, here we have, this is showing your reader, hey, not only do I know about the Columbian Exchange that I'm going to spend the next few pages telling you about, I also know what else was going on in the 1500s. Another example, if you look on the right, is tell your reader how we got to this point. You can read that. It says Europe was a backwater, but then it began to improve its technologies and such, and then they accidentally landed in the Americas, forever changing life. And then you would put the Columbian Exchange altered life for Native Americans by boomity bangity bingity bong. There you go. Both of those work. You could write a contextualization where you describe pre-Columbian native societies. You could write a contextualization where you describe the reasons for exploration. Talk about the Indian Ocean trade and then pivot to Europe wanting to get into it. And then, oh, hey, look, they bumped into the Americas. Lots of ways to get contextualization. Please make sure you're writing 3 or 4 sentences, guys. We cannot earn this point without it. And if I seem to be dwelling on contextualization a lot, it's because I'm going to go through the rest of these pretty quickly, but your contextualization is important because it serves as the opener of your paper. And because it serves as the opener of your paper, you really do need to make it good. You earn that first point off the bat. Your reader is human, and you create a positive bias in their head when you get that first point right off the bat. It seems weird, but that is what it is. All right, everybody. As for the thesis, we spent a whole day on the thesis, so I'm just going to level with you. I'm not talking anymore about it. We're going to do our first practice thesis today. You can write this. You can review the thesis piece if you need to. Please remember it's a history thesis, not an English one. I have seen some students who underline their theses. I'm not like opposed to that, but I do want you to be very aware of the fact that if it is or isn't a thesis, underlining it probably isn't going to get it over the hill. I don't really have anything to add, so here's a picture of some otters. They hold paws while they sleep. Isn't that cute? Okay, by far the easiest point, in my humble opinion and in most of my peers' opinions, the easiest point to get on your exam is actually evidence point one. Evidence point one, you just have to provide specific historical examples relevant to the prompt. Basically, so long as you reference historical events that are tied to the prompt, you get this point. Even if the rest of your essay is a train wreck, even if you don't have enough context and your thesis is wrong and your everything else is screwy, so long as you give us evidence that is somewhat relevant to the prompt, and it's usually 2 to 3 examples, depending on degree of difficulty of the prompt, you get this. Now, do keep in mind one last blurb. Don't take this point for granted. There is one piece that I have seen a decent number of people miss this point for, and that is you have to be correct in your dating and in your location. That location piece is especially important with world history because we're a lot bigger than American history. What I mean by that is it's that trap I warned you about with the short answer questions. It's from that video that you hopefully watched all the way back in the summer. You have to know your locations. Specifically, if you get a question about South Asia, excuse me, and you write a just beautiful essay about China, you do not get points because you wrote about the wrong geographic location. Same thing with that Columbian Exchange sample prompt. You don't get to go writing about like the Cold War. That's a little bit outside of the date range of 1450 to 1750. Just keep that in mind as well. Okay, analysis one is using historical reasoning to create an argument which addresses the prompt. So our prompt is, how did the Columbian Exchange change the lives of people in the Americas? You have to tell me the change. You have to show me the evidence and then tell me this is a change because. Once again, pretty words, save them for English. Tie your facts to your evidence. That is what we care about. That is the critical piece here. Yeah, proper grammar, good spelling, good word choice, vibrant verbs, all great stuff, but at the end of the day, I care less about using your 5-syllable words than I do about you giving me genuine facts and evidence and tying it to your prompt. These first 4 points are not particularly difficult to get. Put bluntly, a well-written intro and a single well-written body paragraph should get you to 4 out of the 6 LEQ points. Please make sure you make this connection clear. I know using this shows or this demonstrates or thus over and over again isn't a very exciting way to write. I had a student in my first period on our first test this unit, or our first test this year, Unit 1 test, actually wrote all 6 of their short answer questions had a "this shows" sentence at the end, and I was like, he said, is this boring? Is this not okay? And my response was, it's absolutely fine. The same person isn't reading your SAQs. The same person who reads your SAQs isn't reading your essays. So please keep that in mind. I don't care if all of your paragraphs end with "thus blah blah blah." If you're tying your stuff, your evidence, back to your prompt, back to your argument, then you are doing the right thing. Keep that in mind. Okay, evidence 2 is the first somewhat challenging point. You have to provide additional support in an argument in response to the prompt. So basically, evidence 2 is giving me facts that support your argument. You will notice that if you're supporting an argument, that means you have a thesis. If you don't have a thesis, evidence 2 is pretty much impossible to get. Your evidence should steer readers to a conclusion, and it's rarely earned in one body paragraph. It usually requires a lot of different examples. I don't think I've ever actually seen it in a single body paragraph. I don't think I've ever seen an essay that 2 paragraphs in, intro and body 1, would have 5 points. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I have seen it, I haven't seen it too often. You got to give me evidence to support all of the parts of your thesis, not just one. All right, so those are the first 5. Those are the comparatively easy ones. Those of you who are new to AP style writing, I want you to focus on those 5 points primarily. We're going to talk about the last one, but I want you to be aware those first 5 points, those are your foundation. Those are your bread and butter. By the end of the year, you should be writing 5-point essays on a regular basis. So what do I need? Well, what's this last one? What's this mysterious 6th point? Well, it is analysis 2. Analysis 2 is often referred to as the unicorn point. First, I will flagrantly plagiarize College Board and show you what they have to say about it. I'm not reading all that. So you can pause and read it, other than the parts that are blocked by my head. But basically understand that the keywords are complex understanding, and you have to demonstrate nuance. You have to explain lots of different things. Those of you who took a push, or those of you who may have gotten your source on how to write a thesis from somebody other than me, this is your however sentence or your however paragraph. This is where you run counter to what you had been arguing or what you had been saying. I'm going to put this in more layman's terms here on the next slide, so let's go ahead and go there. All right. Analysis 2 is normally earned through qualifying your argument. Give me a however statement. Give me the opposite skill as the one that was asked for or the one that you demonstrated, i.e. you've given me 2 paragraphs on change, give me a paragraph on continuity. Or you've given me 2 paragraphs on similarities between 2 empires, now you're going to give me a difference. Once again, this point is exceedingly rare. I can't remember the exact data. I know last year was a little bit screwy because of the whole everybody takes a DBQ. So the last time we actually gave a regular exam in 2019, I want to say like 0.7% of all students got, it was under 1%, got this point. Please, 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 by all means, try to get this point. Once you're at the end of the year and you're hammering out great AP essays, awesome. Let's go for this point. But if you are like, I really can't get this, this however thing is blowing my mind, what do I do with this? Then let's focus on those first 5. I said it before and I'll say it again. You write a 5-point LEQ, you write a 6-point DBQ, you don't get analysis point 2 for either of them, guess what? You are still almost assuredly going to get a 5 on this exam. Please, 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 I am more or less begging you, do not look at 5s on your LEQs or 6s on your DBQs and go, ugh, I need that extra point. Y'all, it's one of those things that with the percentage of people who get this, I'm not saying don't go for it. I'm saying if you don't earn it, that doesn't preclude you from anything. I'll put it to you this way. Last year, I think, or the last time we actually had the exam, I had 9% of my students get 5s, and I had only 1% of my students get the analysis point 2. Okay, so it is not a barrier to obtaining that. As for my personal input, my 2 cents here at the end, I don't have a lot because the essays are formulaic. I have some advice on DBQs that I think is pretty handy, but on LEQs, So make sure that you have at least 2 body paragraphs. If you get a continuity and change over time prompt, Either give me two continuities or give me a continuity and a change. Just give me something. You have to have at least two body paragraphs. Conclusions are nice, but they're not necessary. If you're pushing for time at the very end, you're like, oh my God, I have 5 minutes left. Do I write a little bit more on this body paragraph, or do I write more, or do I write my conclusion? Write more in your body paragraph. Always write more in your body paragraph. Pick the essay that you think you know the most about. Pick the topic that you feel like, that one looks the easiest. Once you've made that decision, once you have started writing, stick with it. If you are 20 minutes in and you go, ooh, I like prompt 3 better, that is a bad decision because you have wasted half of your time. A poorly written argument is at least still a written argument. I would make the comparison, we've all done this. You ever won an argument by yourself, like alone in your room or in the shower, like, yes, I know exactly what to say? Doesn't do you any good. Same basic principle here. You really, you have to make sure that once you've started writing, that you are sticking with your argument. Lastly, manage your time, especially if you opt to do your LEQ first. You do your LEQ first, you are on your own on time. Make sure you don't take more than 40 minutes with it. And when you're practicing these, if it takes you 45 minutes or 50 minutes, that's fine. If it takes you 2 hours, you should be worried. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. Please, please, please ask me questions if you have them, please. I really, really want to help you with these, and there's going to be a huge writing component in the course for the rest of the way forward, so you may as well know how to do it, or you're going to be blowing my phone up whenever your grades come in anyway. So with that, hope you have a pleasant day / night / whenever you watch this, and be sure to do our practice thesis in Canvas. I will see all of you in the future.